Some of you guys may remember my very first teamwork build that I did on this channel. I am of course talking about a very popular build called the Harmacist Alchemist. Well, it's been over a year since that video came out, and we've gotten quite a few new feats since then. Also, I didn't use the free archetype for that video. For both of those reasons, I'm going to be redoing that build video today. So let's get into it. So of course the ancestry for this build is going to be the Hobgoblin. Alchemical Scholar is just way too good for alchemists. I'll explain that feat once we get to first level. In the meantime, for our heritage, we're going to go with the Aphorites. We want to be pretty stealthy in this build, and Aphorite has a few feats that are going to help us with that. For our background, we're picking up Magical Merchants. Crafter's Appraisal will let us use crafting to identify magic items. And we're an alchemist. We want our crafting to be as high as possible anyway. Then for our class, of course, we're going with Alchemist, and we're going to be picking up the Toxicologist research fields. You could also take the Bomber research field for this build. However, if you do, you're going to want to be taking a lot more bomb feats than I'm going to be taking in this video. So keep that in mind. The starting stats for this build should be Strength 10, Dexterity 16, Constitution 14, Intelligence 18, Wisdom 10, and Charisma 10. Yeah, this is definitely a ranged build, so you're not going to need strength at all. And if you need to get into melee, you can use finesse weapons, since our poisons are going to make up for our low strengths. Alright, for level 1, we're going to start with Alchemical Familiar. Familiars have tons of abilities that help out alchemists a lot. If you're playing an alchemist, you should always take this feat at first level. Now it's time to explain that Alchemical Scholar feat. We get 4 additional formulas on top of the ones we get from being an alchemist and alchemical crafting. In addition, we also gain a new formula every time we level up. If you didn't know that already, then I hope now you realize why we need to take Hobgoblin for this build. Then at level 2, we'll pick up Subtle Delivery. So if we critically hit with a blowgun that we poisoned and the opponent fails their save, they critically fail instead. This of course will mean that the blowgun is going to be one of our main weapons, especially against low level enemies. Then of course we've got to talk about the free archetype, and we're going to be taking the Assassin dedication. This will give us access to some really cool poison feats, as well as the Mark for Death activity. This will give us a little bit of extra damage with our agile and finesse weapons when we need to use them. At level 3, we'll pick up Ancestral Paragon for the Sneaky feat. When we sneak, we can move 5 feet farther up to our speed. In addition, as long as we continue to use the sneak action and succeed on our stealth check, we don't become observed at the end of our sneak action, even if we don't have cover or concealment, as long as we have cover or concealment at the end of our turn. This is to help us stealth between our foes. At level 4, we'll start with Efficient Alchemy. We're going to want to be using our infused reagents for our bombs and especially for our poisons. However, alchemists are all about versatility, so we're going to want to be making more than just bombs and poisons. Mutagens and other elixirs we're going to want to craft during downtime. Not only will these items last longer, but thanks to Efficient Alchemy, we can make more of them. In fact, as long as we have the reagents, we can make double the normal amount. This will allow us to be much more versatile than just poisons and bombs. Then on the free archetype side, we'll pick up Surprise Attack. Since we're going to be using stealth for initiative probably most of the time, it'll help us hit with our bombs and poisons. At level 5, we want to increase our Dex, Con, Intelligence, and Wisdom. Then from our Aphorite heritage, we'll want to pick up Crystalline Dust. So once per day, we can become concealed, but we can't use the concealment to hide or sneak because our position is still obvious. For right now, anyway. The concealment moves with us and lasts for a number of rounds equal to half our level. Don't worry, we're going to take full advantage of this line of feats just a bit later in this video. Moving on to 6th, we've got Sticky Poison. So if your strike with a poisoned weapon would expend the poison without the target making an initial save, then you can make a DC 5 flat check. If you succeed, your weapon remains poisoned. Also, if your strike succeeds, make a DC 17 flat check. If you succeed, your weapon remains poisoned until the end of your next turn. This way we can get more out of our poisons. Then we'll pick up Sneak Attacker. This is just a little extra damage for when the target makes its save against our poisons. Of course, we only get this when they're flat-footed, but hey, damage is damage. Next at 7th, we'll just take Toughness for extra hit points. At 8th, we have Perpetual Breath. We're going to get free poisons thanks to Perpetual Infusions. However, we're not just focusing on poisons here, we're also focusing on bombs. This will give us the ability to make free bombs when we use Quick Alchemy. Next up at this level is Poison Weapon. Yes, I know, we can already poison our weapon for one action thanks to our toxicologist research fields. However, what's important here is that we can draw the poison as part of this action. So we no longer need our familiar to hand us our poisons anymore. Before, we needed 2 actions to draw our poison and then poison our weapon. That is no longer the case. We only need 1 now. At level 9, we get our 3rd Ancestry feat, and we're going to go with Crystalline Cloud. Now when we use Crystalline Dust, we can spend an extra action. If we do, we can disperse the motes in a 10-foot radius cloud instead of all around us. All creatures inside the cloud are concealed to those outside it, and all creatures outside the cloud become concealed to those within it. Now, not only can we use this cloud to hide or sneak, but other creatures in this cloud can use it to hide or sneak as well. That rogue will love this if he's near you. At level 10, we want to increase our Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom. Same ones we did last time. And now we can start taking bomb feats, starting with Debilitating Bomb. So now when we use Quick Alchemy to make a bomb, we can force the target to make a Fortitude saving throw against one of the following conditions: Dazzled, Deafened, or Flat-footed. We can also slow down the target by 5 feet. If they fail the Fortitude save, they suffer that effect until the start of your next turn. You use your class DC for this saving throw, even if someone else throws the bomb. Then on the free archetype side, we'll take Improved Poison Weapon. The simple poisons thing doesn't matter here. What's most important about this feat is we no longer waste a poison when we critically fail an attack roll. However, we still want sticky poison in case the opponent is immune to poison, and so we can use our poisons more often. Alright, at level 11, we're just going to pick up Die Hard so we can stay up longer. Pretty simple. At level 12, we're going to start with Pinpoint Poisoner. Now, targets that are flat-footed also take a -2 penalty on their initial save against our poisons. That includes both hitting them with a poisoned weapon or exposing them to an inhaled poison. This is a pretty stealthy build, so we're going to get flat-footed targets a lot. This will just make them more susceptible to our poisons. And then we'll pick up Assassinate. So for 2 actions, we can make a strike against the creature that we've marked for death. If the strike is a hit, then you deal 6d6 extra precision damage, with a basic Fortitude save against, for this build, our class DC. If they critically fail, they die. This is of course an incapacitation effect. Once you use this ability on a target, they are immune for 1 day. This is for those situations when the party can sneak up on an encounter and we want to take out an enemy quickly. Granted, it's got to be a lower level enemy, otherwise they'll probably just quickly succeed, but hey. At level 13, we get an Ancestry feat, and we're going to go with Ancillary Motes. This will let us use Crystalline Dust 1 more time per day. Because, concealment is always good for stealthy characters. At level 14, we're going to start with Greater Debilitating Bomb. Now when we use Debilitating Bomb, we can also make the target Clumsy 1, Enfeebled 1, Stupefied 1, or give them a -10-foot status penalty to their speeds. So now if one of our poisons makes them, let's say, Enfeebled 1 or worse, then we can also make them Clumsy 1 with this feat. True status penalties don't stack. However, Clumsy and Enfeebled target different stats. Effectively, we can make them easier to hit and it harder for them to hit the party, which can be very effective. Then on the free archetype, we'll take our second dedication. the Familiar Master dedication. Since we already have a Familiar, we gain the Enhanced Familiar feats, which gives us 4 familiar abilities per day instead of just 2. At this point, we don't need the Valet ability anymore. However, there are plenty of familiar abilities that can help out this build. Examples are Second Opinion and Skilled. But overall, just pick the ones that are going to help you the most. At level 15, we want to increase our Dex, Con, Intelligence, and Wisdom again. And for our general feat at this level, we're going to take Canny Acumen for our lowest save, which is going to be our Will save. And then at level 16, we've got Chemical Contagion. Now we can spread our poisons like infectious diseases. As a reaction, if a target within 30 feet critically fails their saving throw against one of our poisons, we can spread that poison to an adjacent creature. Adjacent to the triggering creature, not us. Then we've got Familiar Mascot. When we select master abilities for our familiar, we can also choose an ally to benefit from that master ability. Each master ability can only benefit a single character, and you can only select a master ability once unless the ability says otherwise. At level 17, we get our last ancestry feat, and we're going to pick up Rallying Cry. For 2 actions, once per day, we can give all allies within 30 feet temporary hit points equal to our level. These allies are also quickened for 1 minute, but they can only use the extra action to stride, step, or strike. Then we come to level 18 and Perfect Debilitation. So when we use Debilitating Bomb, the target only avoids the condition if it critically succeeds on its saving throw. Thus, we're going to be able to get that clumsy, enfeebled, flat-footed, whatever most of the time now. Then on the free archetype side, we'll take Mutable Familiar. We can use a 10-minute activity to reselect familiar abilities from a certain list. We can switch as many familiar abilities from this list as we want. The familiar abilities that we can switch between are Amphibious Burrower, Climber, Dark Vision, Fast Movement, Manual Dexterity, Resistance, and Scent. But we can only reselect familiar abilities that we could reselect each day, not required abilities for our familiar. But since we don't need a specific familiar for this build, that doesn't apply. Additionally, we cannot remove abilities that are required for other familiar abilities. So if we pick up Lab Assistant, we can't get rid of Manual Dexterity. For our last general feat at level 19, we're going to go with Incredible Initiative. There really isn't another general feat that we can take at this level that's really going to help us here. And going first will let us debuff opponents before our allies even go. And lastly, at level 20, we want to increase our Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. Then for our first level 20 class feat, we want to take Plum Deluge. For 3 actions, we can interact to draw 3 vials of the same contact poison and throw them into the air. These vials shatter and spread the poison in a 20-foot burst within 60 feet. All creatures in the burst are automatically exposed to the poison, bypassing any onset time. This means they must all make saving throws. The 3 vials must be identical, even if the poison can come in multiple different types or levels. Then our last feat for this build, on the free archetype, we're going to go with Incredible Familiar to give us 6 familiar abilities instead of 4. For today's teamwork reports, as I've said before many times in this video, you want to be stealthy with this build. You want your foes to be flat-footed as much as possible to get that -2 on their initial save. However, you can also use Bottled Lightning or Debilitating Bomb to get that flat-footed condition as well. This build is about debuffing opponents. So at low levels, you're going to want to be picking up more poisons than bombs, as low-level poisons are the ones that inflict conditions. At high levels, though, you're going to want to be picking up higher-level bombs, since the high-level poisons only really do damage. But with higher-level bombs, you can do more damage, and thanks to Debilitating Bomb, you can debuff the opponent as well. You'll also want to use that blowgun as much as possible, since critically hitting with that it's going to make your foes quickly fail their saving throw against your poisons, especially low-level foes. But this build can still do melee. You'll just want to use finesse weapons so that you can use your dex to hit rather than strength. For your familiar, you're definitely going to want the valet ability, especially once you hit level 13 and you can apply 2 injury poisons to your weapon. But at high levels, we're going to have up to 6 familiar abilities. There are plenty of master abilities that we would want to give to our party members, but these are going to depend on what our other party members are. We'll also might want to take the skilled and second opinion familiar abilities to help us with our recall knowledge. In addition, Poison Reservoir is really going to help this build, especially if we want to poison an ally's weapon. Overall, as I've said before, just pick the familiar abilities that are going to most help the party. And that's going to do it for this video. If you want to see the original Harmacist Alchemist builds, or other teamwork builds on this channel, you can check out these videos here. But if these teamwork builds aren't enough for you, you can check out the Patreon page for even more. And until next time, teamwork is vital.